Vikings feared almost nothing. They raided coastlines across 3 continents, but there was one empire they never dared cross twice. This is the battle that broke them. To outsiders, the Rus were the stuff of nightmares. Ibn Fadlan, who met them on the Volga, wrote of men towering over their neighbors, arms inked from fingertips to neck with dark, twisting tattoos. Their hair hung in thick braids, their beards wild, and every wrist flashed steel, axes, swords, and knives always within reach. These weren't just pirates, they were a brotherhood built on plunder. In their world, a warrior's worth was measured by the silver he won and the scars he carried home. Fear held no place in their ranks. They laughed in the face of death, toasted their gods with strong drink, and turned violence into ritual. To raid was to rise, to hesitate was to vanish. Every village along the rivers learned to dread the sight of their longships gliding through the mist. The Rus believed no wall could hold them, no army could match their fury. That certainty is what drove them south, toward the richest markets and the most dangerous frontiers the Islamic world had to offer. Spring ice on the Volga broke with a thunderous rush, opening the artery that linked the northern forests to the Caspian southern shores. Rus longships, built for river and sea, gathered at Khazar-controlled ports. Their arrival negotiated with gold and threats. The Khazars, masters of the steppe crossroads, allowed passage, sometimes for tribute and sometimes for shared plunder. With their blessing, the Rus fleet surged south, sails snapping in the wind, oars biting deep into the current. The journey demanded precise timing. Too early, and the Volga's ice would trap hulls and men. Too late, and Caspian storms could swallow the fleet whole. Arab geographer al-Masudi wrote of these ships arriving at Derbent, loaded with furs, silver, and ambition. The first strike came at Baku. Rus warriors stormed the shipyards, torching timber and dragging vessels into the surf, leaving a trail of blackened wreckage behind. By late summer, their long ships pressed inland, following the Kura River toward the heart of Azerbaijan. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the limits of raiding culture against the discipline of an organized Muslim defense. Rus boots echoed in the streets of Barda for 47 days. The city's markets, once crowded with merchants and spices, fell silent under foreign rule. Ibn Miskawai writes that the conquerors, permitted by the Khazars, stormed the city and set its markets ablaze. Tribute was squeezed from every household, silver, silk, and captives, all loaded for the journey north. But the occupation turned sour. Disease crept in, silent and relentless. Ibn al-Athir blames it on rotten fruit, a simple meal that became a curse. Warriors who had survived storms and swordplay now collapsed in their armor, feverish and helpless. The burn layer in Barda's earth, blackened timbers, shattered pottery, bears witness to those weeks of chaos. Archaeologists uncovered a hoard of mixed coins, Samarkand dirhams, and Kievan Rus silver, proof of a world upended by violence. The Rus had come for glory, but found hunger, sickness, and the slow unraveling of strength. The city they thought conquered became a trap. With every day, their numbers thinned, and the bravado that brought them south began to crack. The Rus had built their legend on chaos, fast raids, burning towns, loot divided on the riverbank. But outside Barda, they faced something different. Al-Marzuban ibn Muhammad, the Musafirid emir, gathered a force that moved with purpose, not hunger. His cavalry rode under banners stitched with Quranic verses, armored in lamellar plates, and carrying composite bows that could pierce a shield at 100 paces. Infantry advanced in disciplined ranks, shields locked, while supply trains kept the army fed and ready. Orders ran down the line in clipped Persian and Arabic, not the wild shouts of raiders, but the language of a professional army. The counterattack came swift and organized. Muslim cavalry circled the Rus flanks, raining arrows, then charged in tight formation. The battered invaders, weakened by disease and cut off from their ships, tried to rally with axes and swords. But the clash was short. Discipline broke pillage. Where the Rus fought for plunder, Al-Marzuban's men fought for order, and they had the numbers, the armor, and the plan. Within hours, the Rus lines collapsed. Survivors fled for the river, leaving behind silver, weapons, and their dead. The dream of a new northern conquest died in the mud outside Barda. The Caspian would not see another Viking fleet for a generation. History books gave the Vikings a clean story, but the Arab chronicles tell a different one. If you want the history they left out of your textbooks, subscribe. The next video goes even deeper into a civilization that rewrote the ancient world. After Barda, the Rus vanished from the Caspian. No more fleets appeared on those southern waters, and no new raids cut through the Muslim heartlands. The chronicles fall silent, as Arab historians note the absence, while Norse sagas skip the episode entirely. The silence is its own admission. The legendary brotherhood, unbeaten on so many rivers, chose not to return. Geography played its part, those routes now watched, the river mouths guarded, and the element of surprise forever lost. In the north, storytellers spun legends of glory, but they left this defeat unmentioned. The limits of pillage had been exposed by discipline, and the memory was quietly buried. Arabic manuscripts held the truth all along. Ibn Miskawayh, writing in the 10th century, set down the story in ink. The Rus, with Khazar permission, stormed Barda and torched its markets. His account, preserved in Paris and London libraries, details the seizure and the chaos that followed. While Western histories glossed over the episode, this Arabic passage stood as evidence, unfiltered, public domain, and waiting to be read. The silence in Norse sagas was not the whole story. The record survived, challenging the myth of Viking invincibility. Discipline broke the myth of Viking invincibility. At Barda, pillage met its match. This defeat stayed buried, quietly omitted from Western legend. History books gave the Vikings a clean story. The Arab chronicles tell a different one. If you want the history they left out of your textbooks, subscribe. The next video goes even deeper into a civilization that rewrote the ancient world.